James Parker wasn't a risk-taker. In fact, his life could be summed up in one word: comfortable. At 34, he had a solid job in insurance, a modest two-bedroom house in a quiet suburb of Ohio, and a cat named Murphy who was just as uninterested in change as he was. Every day followed the same rhythm: wake up at 6:30 a.m., eat a bowl of cereal, drive to work, return home by 5:30 p.m., eat dinner in front of the TV, and then sleep. There was nothing wrong with his life, per se, but there was also nothing exhilarating about it either. His friends called him Reliable James. He never missed a deadline, never showed up late, never said anything controversial, and never strayed from routine. But deep inside, James felt something gnawing at him. It started as a faint itch, a sense that there was more to life than safety and routine. Then it became louder, like a knock at a door he didn't want to open. Still, he ignored it. After all, comfort was better than chaos, right? That belief began to crumble one cold Tuesday morning when he received an unexpected email from his college buddy, Eric. The subject line read, "Let's climb Mt. Rainier this summer." James blinked. Mt. Rainier? The towering volcano in Washington state? It was a ridiculous suggestion. He hadn't hiked anything more intense than a grocery store aisle in years. Still, his finger hovered over the reply button. For reasons he couldn't quite explain, he typed 3 words: "I'm in." "Maybe." Eric's response came fast and full of enthusiasm. "That's all I need, bro. We've got 4 months to train. I'll send you a program. You'll thank me later." James nearly backed out right then and there. But he didn't. Something in him whispered that maybe, just maybe, this was the challenge he needed to feel alive again. The first week of training was brutal. James was sore in places he didn't even know had muscles. Every morning jog felt like a slow, embarrassing crawl. Every push-up reminded him how far he'd let his body go. But more than that, it revealed something deeper: how afraid he was of failing, of looking foolish, of being seen trying and not succeeding. He almost quit after week 2. After all, no one would blame him. He wasn't a mountaineer. He wasn't built for this. But as he sat on the park bench, winded from a short uphill jog, he remembered something his high school coach once told him. Comfort is a slow death. You can either sweat now or regret later. So he kept going. By week 6, his body began to cooperate. He could jog without gasping, climb stairs without cursing, and even do 10 real push-ups without collapsing. More importantly, he started to feel proud of himself again, something he hadn't felt in years. As his body strengthened, his mind began to shift. He started saying yes to more things: spontaneous road trips, trying new foods, joining local hiking groups. The world outside his living room grew brighter and fuller. Life wasn't just something that happened on his TV screen anymore. It was something he could participate in. He didn't notice the full change until one Friday night, when a coworker named Emily invited him to a live poetry slam downtown. Old James would have declined instantly. Crowds, loud music, unpredictable environments, no thank you. But new James found himself saying, "Sure. Sounds fun." At the event, he sat among strangers, clapped for performances that moved him, and even chatted with a few people afterward. One of them was Alex, a travel writer who had backpacked through 20 countries. They exchanged numbers and agreed to grab coffee the next weekend. James was stunned. Not just because someone so adventurous wanted to talk to him, but because he actually wanted to say yes. When the day to climb Mt. Rainier finally came, James was nervous, heart-poundingly nervous. But he was also ready. He'd pushed himself in ways he never thought possible. The mountain stood before him like a final exam. And this time, he wasn't going to skip it. The climb was grueling. Thin air, biting cold, and aching legs tested every ounce of his endurance. There were moments when James wanted to turn back, but Eric kept encouraging him, and he kept going. Step by step, breath by breath. When they finally reached the summit, James stood in silence. The world stretched out beneath him. He wasn't just on top of a mountain, he was on top of a version of himself that had kept him small for years. In that moment, with the wind whipping around him and the sky glowing pink with the dawn, James realized that fear never really leaves you. But courage is choosing to move anyway. Returning home, things didn't go back to normal because James wasn't the same. He applied for a transfer within his company to work in a more dynamic role in a new city. He and Alex began traveling on weekends, exploring state parks, and volunteering at wildlife reserves. He even signed up for a local storytelling night and shared his journey, voice shaking, heart pounding, and the audience gave him a standing ovation. The guy who once feared stepping out of line now inspired others to take their first steps. The truth is, comfort zones feel safe, like warm blankets on cold nights. But they can also become prisons made of invisible walls. James didn't break free overnight. It took one small, maybe, one hard jog, one awkward poetry night. But with each step, he proved to himself that life wasn't meant to be lived in rewind, but in motion. You don't have to climb a mountain tomorrow, but you do have to say yes to something uncomfortable today, even if it's just walking into a room full of strangers or saying what you really feel. The path to growth doesn't start with a giant leap. It starts with a single step. James Parker was once afraid of change, but now he's living proof that when you finally dare to step out of your comfort zone, you don't just change your life, you reclaim it. So, if you're waiting for a sign, this is it. Get out of your comfort zone. Not tomorrow. Not next month.
Now.